could shoot a human, but you can't shoot an iguana.
Fighting dogs, it'll make it okay to do that.
Your ass should be in jail.
I heard shots, 3 people with rifles.
My 7-year-old grandson gonna go out there and start killing the iguanas. How'd that bullet fill in your ass?
Felt great.
What happens if a 92-year-old woman gets shot? This is absurd.
And she died. These things are deadly.
Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can go out there with an air rifle and shoot away. I want all of them dead.
Item 7A is an ordinance of the City of Margate, Florida, amending Chapter 6, Animals and Fowls, Section 6-1, City Designated Bird Sanctuary, Section 20-6-25, Injury to Animals, Chapter 33, Police and Law Enforcement, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions, Article 1, Offenses and Miscellaneous Provisions of the City of Margate Code of Ordinances, to provide for non-native invasive iguana species exception to wildlife sanctuary, providing for capture, humane euthanasia, and trespass, providing for exceptions and prohibitions, providing for enforcement and penalty, providing for conflict, providing for severability, providing for codification, providing for an effective date. This ordinance is before for first reading at this time.
What's the wish of the commission?
So move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Commissioner Simone?
Yes, I noticed that the ordinance was only talking about the iguanas, but our ordinance says that no animal can be killed. So I would like to make an amendment to include other animals, such as the bufo frog, other non-native invasive species that affect pets as well as humans.
Is there a second for that?
I'll second that.
Okay.
So just for the record, so Commissioner Rosano made the motion to approve the ordinance,
Right.
seconded by Commissioner Simone. So Commissioner Rosano, you're agreeing to amend the ordinance to provide for an additional exception for the species, the animal known as the bufo frog.
Well, I was going to go a little bit further. Was I correct the last meeting that we heard that you're not allowed to kill rodents in your house?
Most people don't publicize that.
No, but I'm just saying, I mean, well, most people, I understand how this came about. So, I mean, Arlene, you're the preacher that says don't put ordinances or rules out
That
there
you don't
can't.
intend to enforce.
So if somebody goes out and steps on a frog or steps on a mouse and the neighbor sees it on video, person's guilty. So I don't know
Somehow I
how we
don't
word
think
it
the
for
neighbor-
nuisance animals or rodents or whatever you
Yep.
want to call them.
But isn't that that's a judgment call now?
Well, I think this all should be a judgment call, actually, because when you're talking about something that's on your property and you're in fear of your life on it, you could shoot a human, but you can't shoot an iguana. And it didn't really hit me. Listen, I love animals. I would never kill one. I can't even step on a roach. But when I heard last meeting that the woman was afraid to go to work because there was iguanas on her property, I'm the same way with snakes. You know, so if you want to call somebody to come on your property and handle it, I don't have a problem with that. And I think that's basically what this is. And the second thing I want to say is I know that, and I want to speak for him, but Commissioner Osorio was in for this as well. And I don't want to see this die as a 2-2 vote. So it has to have 2 readings. So I'd at least appreciate that we just pass it. And then when it comes back next meeting for a second reading, he'll be here to vote on it, because I don't think he's going to be able to vote on it, or he won't be here. So at least the courtesy of having it to go to the next meeting. That's all.
Any other?
So how do we change this, that it includes rodents and mice? And
So if you want to make any changes during first reading, we can do that. The problem is if you make any changes at second reading that are substantive, then we'd have to go back and re-advertise it as a second reading with the new title. So, I mean, if you want to, you know, you have on page 4 the ordinance. That's section 6-25A, which states it shall be unlawful for any person to torture, torment, beat, kick, strike, mutilate, injure, disable, or kill any animal. And then we're adding in except as provided herein. So we included that exception because we're now adding a new section C that talks about non-native invasive iguana species. So that C, it's labeled A, is an exception. So if there are certain animals that you want to exempt from the prohibition of killing, we can add additional animals to that list. That's one way of changing it. Another way would be to remove the blanket statement about being unlawful for any person to torture, torment, beat, kill, strike any animal. You know, that removes the exemption, and you know the theory that under this ordinance it's illegal to kill a cockroach or a fly or work.
Amazing
So-
how that's never come up in
But
70
then,
years.
but, you know, it's a policy decision on your part. If we want to start making a list of animals, we can. You know,
I would just take out any animal.
But if you take out any animal, then you make it legal to kill a dog, a cat, a horse, cow, a squirrel, cat, or anything. You can't just blanketly take out that it's illegal to kill an animal, or you'll find them dead all over the place. It'll make, what do they do with the dogs that they make, fighting dogs? It'll make it okay to do that kind of torture.
So I
do
understand the amendment that Commissioner Simone is asking for. If that amendment passes, we'll have some time to work on some appropriate language, so we're not listing specific animals, but we are, potentially tying the exceptions to Florida Fish and Wildlife's non-native invasive nuisance type species, and then adding a section in there for an exception for nuisance type of animals, which would be a cockroach or a mouse or a rat or something of that nature that appropriate code enforcement or animal control officer may use their judgment in dealing with. If we get a call for somebody saying their neighbor is killing a cockroach, we are not going to. I get it. That's how this has kind of been portrayed to us. But that is the type of judgment we will be able to make here.
Mr. Rosano, your numbers.
Yeah, I don't agree with Joanne saying about animals, because if you're going to kill an animal like a dog or a cat on your
No, I
property,
didn't mean that.
you need more help than that. You should be exposed, and your ass should be in jail. Not only that, but we just passed something, I thought last week or last meeting, about animals cruelty or whatever,
Correct.
pets or whatever. So to me, you know what? It's your property. Have what you want on it. I agree with Commissioner Simone, but if this has to pass tonight, I wouldn't mind just making it iguanas, rodents, and the frogs. That's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Caggiano.
I don't have a huge problem with it, except for the fact I just don't like the idea of somebody calling up a neighbor who has an air rifle to go on the property and shoot it because you feel scared. There's nothing in here that says that professionals need to do it. This is just giving anybody who's got what they consider to be a humane way of killing anything an opportunity to do it. If we're gonna, I can't vote for this unless it's gonna be very specific on what's possible, how to do it. Other than that, I just see, I lived on a canal for over 20 years, and seeing people who ride up and down in their boats with air rifles shooting at things, I just can't sanction that. So that's that.
All right, so I'm one of the people who, when this originally came up, said, could we do a carve out? But I will tell you, a week ago Monday, I heard shots. I turned my head, and within 25 feet of where I was standing on the canal were 3 people with rifles. And they were shooting iguanas, and I'm told that when I can hear bullets flying, those are actual guns. Then they went over to the side of the C-14, walked up on the land, which is illegal with a rifle, and then shot it again. So I will tell you that the idea that some people will do this right, and I understand that Paradise 4 has all the great intentions of the world and the permission from people to go on property, but I was within 30 feet of someone who could have turned around and shot me accidentally. And that's a problem to me, because what you allow for one, you allow for everyone. And I can't do that. Scared the life out of me. Within where the gentleman in the first row is sitting in a boat. And on the C-14, we have no jurisdiction whatsoever, apparently. So they can do whatever they want. That's a problem. So to be honest, there are people who do this and are licensed and are able to do it. I don't doubt for a moment that the group from Paradise 4 would do it right, but I got to worry about everybody else who'll take their kids, as I used to see down the C-14, with rifles for target shooting. And I live way too close to that bank as opposed to the other side, that I worry that somebody who misses hitting what they meant to hit will hit me in my yard. So at this point, even though originally I understood why it was possibly necessary, I can't support it because I stood there and watched it almost happen last week. That's a problem for me. Commissioner Rosano.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys were here at the last meeting where the lady said she was scared she couldn't even get out of her car. So if you guys are worried about the people that are doing this, I think if I read this correctly, it says it can only be done on your property or with permission on your property. So David, let me ask you this question. Can the city come up with a permit or an approved licensed person to take these things out? Basically, it's just a mental check that I think if you sit down with them, somebody in the police department would just sit down with them and go over it and basically explain, you know, you can't use this as a hunting license. However, if there is a problem on someone's property and you're capable of handling it humanely, like FWC says, why wouldn't you allow it in the city of Margate?
I would need to research that. I know the state of Florida, Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission has a lot of authority over hunting and, you know, use of weapons on public lands. So I'm not prepared tonight to specifically answer the question as to whether or not the city of Margate could license individuals to use and whatever type of weapon, whether it's a gun, whether it's a BB gun, whether it's an air rifle. But that'd be something I'd need to research, bring back to you.
Because there might be a
Okay.
great deal of liability on the city's part when they decide someone is
Well,
capable of doing that, possibly.
But that's not true.
No, I'm
Because,
asking if that's part of the why he has to research it.
I think it's
well, how are these people shooting these iguanas on their canals? They have a license?
I have no, it's illegal. Right now, it's illegal, but as far as the C-14, I was told that we have no authority on there, and they don't come up to take a look, so I have no clue.
So
They
if I'm
come.
hearing this
Yeah.
correctly, the problem that you're having is people on the C-14 actually misfiring, probably hitting somebody's window. We can't do nothing about. But here we're talking about people that have iguanas on their property, and we're not going to let them do anything about it. It's kind of like a mixed, what do you want to do?
But there are people who are licensed to be able to do that, and they're not citizens walking around with
I
an
don't
air
know.
rifle, a BB gun, or a shotgun.
David, is there a license to take out iguanas? Is that specific?
100%. There
Well, I
are
know
people
there are-
licensed, absolutely.
I know there are individuals who are licensed to remove nuisance animals from property. How they do it, I'm not sure, whether it's by trapping, whether it's by, humanely killing. I'm not sure, but I know that there are individuals that property owners can hire to set traps and remove animals from the property.
Okay, so why don't we do this then? Why don't we, if everybody's concerned about this happening all throughout Margate, why don't we just pick a certain area in Margate, maybe an HOA, and see how it works out for a year or two?
I think that'd be a policy decision on your part as far as mapping out a specific area. And I don't know, we'd have to come up with the rational or basis for treating one part of the city differently than another.
But guys, last meeting, there were people here that were afraid to go to their car, afraid to go out on their property. And it didn't really hit me until, snakes. I can't go near a snake. So to me, this is a problem. These things are allowed to be taken out by Florida Wildlife. Not that I would ever do it. But these are the residents that can't even go out to their car. And now we're going to tell them, hey, there's nothing we can do with these for you. So if they're the ones with the problem in their neighborhood, let them do it in their neighborhood, and let's see how it works. I mean, I haven't heard of many people. Well, first of all, the people using a real gun, I never heard that, Arlene. I've never heard that one before. But just make it allow the way it's written that you could take them out, and that's the way it is. Obviously, you can't use a handgun. It's got to be what it is. That's it.
I think you can take out an iguana on your property. I think we're being asked to allow others to take out iguanas on everybody's property who says, here, let me sign a piece of paper and you can come on mine and do it. There's a difference.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. So you're allowed to take out an iguana on your property right now?
Actually, no, you're not, but you see people
So,
are.
well, that's what I'm trying to say. We're not even allowing them to do that. So the way I was told that this was, you were able to take out an iguana, I hate to use those words,
Yeah, remove.
remove an iguana on your property with the owner's permission. Has anything changed? Is there anything, I mean,
Well,
that's the
what
short
you're
version of
being
it.
asked to allow in that case is a group of people to go on other people's properties who have given them permission to do so. Therefore, you're kind of licensing people to do that for one another, and I think that's a bad idea right now.
See, I don't think it's a bad idea because
I know.
the other way, you're going to have to call up somebody, pay money, and have them remove it. I just don't get it. It's your property. Technically, if the bullet doesn't leave your property, there's no harm, no foul.
Yeah, how do you know that's gonna happen?
Well, how do you, that's what I'm, that's how this
How do
whole
you
thing
know the
came
bullet's
about.
not gonna lose
It
your
came
property?
about because from when I was told, an officer went out there and told them, you're not allowed to do this. Then I hear you're allowed to do it. Now I'm hearing something different tonight.
No, right now, they're not allowed to do it, and
Current-
an officer came out because a complaint was made by a neighbor.
But I just, 5 minutes ago when I asked you, you were allowed to do this.
No, you're not allowed.
I just
That's
asked
what-
you.
No, they're not allowed.
Currently,
Okay,
the
they're not
code does
allowed.
not allow someone to kill. Okay, so you can hire an individual to come
Yeah.
onto your property to remove the animal. Okay, that doesn't mean kill, that means remove.
Okay.
All right.
And like I
This
said, I
ordinance
wish,
would allow somebody to, with their permission, come onto their own property to kill an iguana.
like I said, I wish we would table this or bring it back. It's gonna have a second reading, so at least get it forward, because I know Commissioner Osorio was probably on the same side as if it's your property, you should be able to remove an iguana. Can't speak for him. Maybe you can call in, I don't know. But guys, listen, if it was me, it's a nuisance on your property and you're able to remove it, I don't know why the city would give you more problems. And let me tell you, everybody else out there, if you see somebody step on a roach on their property, take a picture and send it to the city and see what happens. Because I'm curious. We have archaic rules in our city and you guys don't want to address them. You're going on what could be, what could happen. Well, you know what? You guys are lucky you're not afraid of iguanas, but Arlene, imagine if you had 3 iguanas in front of your car and you had to come to a meeting. I'm sure that somebody would get a call, help me remove the iguanas.
I'd hit the horn and watch it run.
Madam Mayor.
I want you to know I've lost 15 feet of bank because of iguanas,
But
and I
that's
can't
not
get
your bank.
anybody to
That's not
do
your
it.
bank.
Doesn't matter.
Madam
Yes,
Mayor, Vice Mayor Osorio has joined the meeting via
Oh,
Zoom,
okay.
and
Oh,
he
how
would like to
nice.
speak.
How you
Alrighty
feeling?
then. Does he wish to speak, I assume? Okay, we'll recognize him.
Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Sure. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, I don't see why not to move it along for right now. I mean, this is just allowing either the property owner themselves to kill the nuisance animal on their property or to allow someone else to do it for them. Right now, the only way is to hire someone that's licensed for commercial use. So, for instance, in the scenario where the association who kind of got this going, they're not trying to like do it for commercial use and just let anyone do it all over the city. They're looking to do it within their own property with the property owners within there. Passing this would not give people permission for a free for all. They just can't just go on your property and kill an iguana. They would still need your permission. So there's nothing changing there. The other thing too is Florida law allows people to carry openly weapons, firearms when fishing or going hunting. So there's people out there that are doing audits and testing cities right now going around with guns while fishing. So we're not going to stop that. But all we want is to allow property owners to humanely euthanize nuisance animals on their own property or authorize someone else to do it. So as far as the language, I do think it should say invasive species identified by Fish and Wildlife and or, some sort of nuisance or common pests so that we can cover rats and snakes and, common things of that nature. That's all.
Thank you. Any other comments from the commission? Public?
You guys opened a whole can of worms. How old do you have to be to do this? Is there an age limit? Or is my 7-year-old grandson gonna go out there and start killing the iguanas on my grass?
Good question.
How are they disposing of these iguanas? We're just putting them in our green garbage can, putting them out at Mount whatever so that we can have smelly garbage. It already smells. Now we're gonna have dead carcasses out there. And I got raccoons by my house. Am I allowed to kill the raccoons? Because they got rabies. Possums, frogs I understand because dogs can bite them and get killed by them. I got rats. I live behind a plaza that has restaurants. I have rats like gazore. But I have cats. The cats bring the dead rats to me, which is great, but am I going to get arrested because my cat kills a rat? I mean, come on, you guys are opening a whole can of worms. If it's on my property and it's a nuisance, I understand. Tommy, I get where you're coming from. I have 3 iguanas this big on my property. I walk outside, it looks at me and runs right up the palm tree. They're more scared of us than we are them. So the ladies that came to the meeting and said, oh, I was scared for my life, this and that, I don't buy it. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. They're not here tonight to complain again for your first reading. So I'm sorry, I don't buy it. I understand they're elderly, I understand that, but I'm sorry. The iguanas are more scared of you, and it's not their fault. It's not the iguana's fault that people got them as pets and couldn't handle them and let them go. It's not their fault. So you shoot them and stab them in the head to kill them, and then how are they disposing of them? That's what I want to know. Where are those dead carcasses going? And I want to know how old you got to be to kill them. Because I don't want no teenagers running around just killing animals. I don't care if it's my property, your property, or what. By the way, how'd that bullet feel in your ass?
Felt great.
Thank you.
Watch the video.
Hang on just a second.
Don't watch it. I didn't make you watch it.
Tommy, you're sitting there saying about these old ladies being scared. And because these people are scared, I'm scared of iguanas too, but they run. I mean, I'm scared of a possum, but I have them in my backyard. But thank God I have a dog that'll run them away. You know, raccoons. I have raccoons running across the street, but I can't shoot it. And I can't shoot a possum. Matter of fact, when I moved here, I asked the police department, can we shoot a BB gun in our backyard? Do you know what I was told? Not unless you have a thick target to stop it. So guess what? Now I'm going to go up and down the canal and I'm going to be shooting air rifles and everything else at iguanas because other people say it's okay, but yet they don't have a target to stop that. So what happens if a 92-year-old woman gets shot? What is the city going to do? This is absurd. These things are scared of you. I'm scared of a lizard, but yet I have them. So be careful with this.
Thank you.
These are all pictures that I took myself of residents who went to go help. They were all trapped. You can see there's doorways, there are iguanas over the doors. They're at the front door. And yes, these people are scared. They've all needed help by us. And y'all, I've heard from different people on the board or commission say that it doesn't make a difference. Yes, it does. We have many, many residents in our neighborhood that their plants have grown back, their gardens have grown back. They're able to have a yard again where they weren't able to have it before. Some of these houses over here had 20 iguanas in the backyard. There's a lady here tonight that showed pictures last week that her whole backyard's dug up by the iguanas. So it is an issue that needs to be addressed somehow. And as far as the canals go, y'all need to really check with Fish and Wildlife because anybody on a boat can shoot from the canal and kill an iguana. So any canal you have in Margate right now, you can put a boat on it and you can shoot from the boat. So they can shoot from a boat, but we can't protect our own property. They can shoot our iguanas for us, but we can't shoot our own iguanas that are tearing up our own neighborhood. So it is really bad that we have all this going on, but y'all really need to come up with some kind of solution because we haven't been doing anything since we got warned about this, and the iguanas have come back and they're eating bushes. And as far as them being scared, they're not scared. You ought to come over and see. I can show devices that are in the backyard that make noise, lights, and everything. The iguana just goes up and eats everything right off that person's property. It doesn't stop them. So y'all thinking that, well, you can put a noisemaker out there, you can put a pan or something that's going to reflect light. It doesn't scare the iguana. The iguana's still going to come and eat that person's garden just down to the ground. So I don't know how it needs to be fixed. But there again, as I showed y'all last time, we had a whole stack of people that want their iguanas killed in our neighborhood. And they all signed that we could come onto their property and kill the iguanas for them. Now, most of these people are up in the age, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. They can't go out there and take care of the iguana by themselves. They need help. And that's what we're trying to do, is provide a service for them They don't have thousands of dollars to call a trapper. And if y'all have done any kind of research, you would know that the trapper is going to come out and charge them by the month, not just for that one trip. So my time's up. I hope y'all have a good evening.
I have a
Thanks
question for you,
consideration.
though. After you've killed them, so because you've been asked, how are you disposing of them?
They're double bagged.
And then put in the trash, I assume.
And then disposed of, yes.
I'm curious as to what a trapper actually does. I don't know.
There's other people, while you're asking that question, we do have quite a few people in the neighborhood that ask for them because they take the meat and they cook it. So
Okay,
there are
then.
people that when we do kill them, they want them because they're going to eat them.
And I'm sure they taste like chicken.
I don't know, but we have another person in here that I think is going to speak a little bit later that he also has people that want the iguana meat.
Okay.
So it's being used.
Okay,
Right.
good to hear. Thank you. Chickens, yeah, I guess.
My main concern is danger and damage. The damage that they are causing to our gardens, to our yards, to our lawns, are creating a danger for other people. I have holes that go so deep that I fear for our lawn care men. I've put flags around them, but anybody walking through that yard could probably break an ankle. There are several holes. They're dug by the iguanas, and they lay 50 or more eggs at a time because I have dug them up. And I ask you to consider those two things, danger and damage, because that's what's affecting our life there.
Thank you.
I just wanted to speak on the damage part. So Dee's has been kind enough to come out to my yard a few times because, and Tommy, you have seen it, the holes that were in the ground next to the bushes between mine and my neighbor's house. We couldn't figure out what it was, and we put rocks in there, we put brick paper things in there, all kinds of things, and they kept digging around it. What they did was they dug probably 2 feet down and then tunneled underneath my neighbor's driveway to the far corner of his house. So he now has almost like a sinkhole issue under his foundation and on part of his driveway. So they are causing massive damage. It's not just a hole in the yard. And also, I know I can't look back and look at her, so I'm addressing all of you. The way that we found to fill the hole so they stop going in it, believe it or not, is dog feces. They will not go near it. I know it's funny and it sounds whatever, but if you go to scoop a yard, if you have a neighbor that has a dog, offer to scoop the yard for them once or twice and throw it in there, and they will stop digging in that spot. Mothballs didn't work, poison didn't work, sorry. Nothing else worked. Thank you.
A lot of people call me to, like I said, go on top of the roof to cover their vents because the iguana goes inside and it goes inside your house. You hear them all inside your attic, etc. Matter of fact, I was outside in my house the other day and I'm looking on the street. I live in 8th Court and I seen an iguana running down the road. I mean, if he was a track star, he would have been in the Olympics. Not being funny, but they really are a nuisance. I have a whole garden in my backyard. I had to put wire mesh completely around my plants because they eat it down to the ground. It's just more than you think. I don't know if we could probably come up with something where it's HOA could allow us to either probably get a deep freezer or something to humane, put them in a, that they won't stink up the garbage can at least, put them in a double bag, get rid of them, freeze them in the freezer until it's time for the garbage and throw them out, that it doesn't stink up the place. We just got to find another solution, something to make it work. I mean, if these people are inviting you to come in your property to remove them, it's just as the same if you hire a trapper and bring them there. You're not doing anything different. So as far as the people on the canal running down the street shooting at things, they're going to do it no matter what, even if they're licensed or not licensed. Kids get BB guns all the time. They run down. It's just being responsible. That's all it is. So I don't know what we're going to do, if we're going to come up with some kind of solution just to give us a permit, just to have, at least allow us to remove what's on our property. We got to figure out something. Eventually you can't drive on the road. They're going to multiply and multiply. You're going to just run them over anyway. So who's going to pick up the dead carcasses? The dog, the cats? It's just, you got to do something because they're invasive. Thank you.
I used to work for the Humane Society and talk about rendering what we do with, do you want to ask what we do with dogs and cats? Let's call it Humane Society. I know what they do. And it's not very pretty. So I don't want to get into this because people get sick about it. But if you want to recycle the same way they do dogs and cats, we can bring the iguanas to Humane Society or whatever. And I guess I got a problem with the invasive species. Are we going to wait until we have Burmese pythons in the neighborhood to worry about what's invasive? When you start seeing, I lived in Coral Springs, we had a 17-foot over by the Wyndham Lakes. So, I mean, they're out there. We're not that far from the glades. Are we going to wait until they come in and then say, well, I guess, you know. The other thing I just read the other day, there's some kind of a lizard that's bigger than an iguana, another invasive species that now eats iguanas. So do we want the bigger lizards to come in to feed on the smaller lizards? I don't know. But we got to do something. It's ridiculous. So the rendering, that's not an issue. Dogs and cats, all of them. So that happens. You have animal control here. You know what happens to animal control. Been there, done it. So we need to step up to it and get some kind of controls on this thing. Because if they just keep multiplying, we got to get it before it gets way out of control. That's my input. Thank you.
I get probably 15 calls every day. Help me, do something about these iguanas. They're tearing up my grounds. I've had a woman, I'll just give you a few examples. We had a person screaming that they're over my doors. Come get them. So we went and got them. Middle of the night, 11 o'clock at night, we went to do it. I had an elderly woman that used to walk in her backyard. She's now 90 years old. She stepped in one of the holes and broke her ankle. She was down. She no longer lives in Paradise Garden Section 4. She's now in a rest home because of what the iguanas did to her. We had a woman here last time that had a bill of $14,000 for the destruction of her seawall. She's not the only one. We've got 3 or 4 residents that have problems like that. They're destroying the seawall, the geotechnical textile material that holds the banks up. They're burrowing into them, and then it releases, and they got to have somebody come out and fix it. $14,000. And I'll give you my personal story. I had a dog, a West Highland Terrier by the name of Lucy. She was 7 years old. And they said, oh, well, iguanas won't bother a dog. That's not exactly true. I came back with a walk. My dog was on a leash. There was an iguana on my front porch. She pulled the leash out of my hand, and around and around and around the iguana went with my dog. There was blood on the porch. Oh my God, what's going on? Well, I ended up killing the iguana, helping my dog kill it. I put it in a double bag, put it in a garbage can. 2 weeks later, my dog, white blood count, went to 54,000, and she died. Banfield, veterinarian. I said, what happened? What's going on here? They're deadly. Their feces is deadly. If a dog walks into feces and it licks their paws, they got a good chance of dying. If there's a bodily exchange of fluid, they're going to die. I lost my Lucy. These things are deadly. They are damaging. Number 2 cause of electrical power loss in South Florida. We've got to do something about it. So I would urge you to move forward with this legislation or whatever, changing the code. If you have to carve out iguanas, do it. Add something else to it later. But for God's sakes, do something so that the people in our community can have some control of this explosion of the population. If you don't, I'm going to start sending everybody in my community to the commission, and you can field the phone calls that I get. They're not happy about it. So please move this thing forward and get us some relief. We'll do it ourselves, but we need your authorization. We don't want to have our people arrested by animal control because we're trying to control a nuisance on our properties. Thank you.
The common green iguana, the invasive species, this is going to get much worse. You should get ahead of it now, because eventually the city's going to have to take care of it. To address the question of how you dispose of them, you euthanize them the day before garbage pickup, double bag them, put them in the garbage, they're gone. But their feces are loaded with salmonella. They've totally defoliated our entire backyards. When I moved in 11 years ago, we had herbs, flowers, vegetables, nothing now. They eat everything. So It's only going to get worse. They're not like other animals. They don't have that biological clock that tells them, stop breeding, we're overpopulating. They just keep populating. And sooner or later, the city's going to have to deal with it. So I suggest that we follow the Florida state guidelines. Florida, the state is telling us, do something about it. So now we have citizens here that are saying, we'll do something about it if we're organized about it and do it wisely and safely under the auspices of the police department, have a little workshop, have the police qualify certain people as good shooters, which we have, so it's done humanely, it can be done safely. That's how you control it. You'll never get rid of them completely, but we can control the number of them so they're not all over the place burrowing in people's yards. And so now's an opportunity to get ahead of the problem rather than years from now saying, oh, it's going to cost us, you know. I would do it now. I suggest that you move on it, but do it in a logical way. Organize it, you know, with the police department and, you know, do it that way. Okay,
Thank
good
you.
luck.
When I first heard about this and they were telling me that they were killing that many iguanas, I thought it was inhumane. I thought it was crazy. How could you do that? They are animals. They are here, and why are you killing them like that? No, only because we don't have them in Paradise Garden 3. When I heard that the problems that they were having at the meeting at this time, and when I have heard everybody, all the problems with the holes and the damage to the houses and the dogs being sick and everything else, that is a problem. It has to be taken care of. I don't know if just allowing allowing a certain group, giving certain people not a license, but a permit for 6 months and see what happens, that they can do it. But to have 20 iguanas in your backyard, I don't care. I'm going to take a broom and I'm going to go, but they're going to be chasing me because I'm going to be running the other way also. So it is really sad. It is really important. I don't like killing animals. I don't like, but when it is going to affect elderly people, when it's going to affect communities, I think something has to be done. Something has to be organized to be done, whatever humane way it is, but it must be done because they are the damage that is causing, it is really serious, and it's not fair for them not to be able to take care of their problems themselves.
A suggestion for Section C of this proposed ordinance is to add an exception for non-native, non-protected species as defined by the Florida Wildlife Commission, and add an exception for typical household pests to include mice and rats. And I checked, and there's no permits or licenses issued by the FWC for hunting iguanas. This is straight from the FWC website. Green iguanas are not native to Florida and are considered an invasive species due to their impacts on native wildlife. Like all non-native reptile species, green iguanas are not protected in Florida and can be humanely killed on private property with landowner permission. This species can be captured and humanely killed year-round without a permit or hunting license. And to address Mayor Schwartz's concern, this ordinance allows use of an air gun or BB gun for the eradication of iguanas on private property, as long as the projectile does not leave the person's private property. And in Florida, minors under age 16 are prohibited from using BB guns unless supervised by an adult who has the minor's parents' consent. And adults who knowingly allow a minor under 16 to use a BB gun in violation of the law commit a second-degree misdemeanor.
So I live right on Margate Boulevard. I bought the house around 4 years ago, and the second year I was in there were all holes along the side of my house, and I wondered what they were. So I called the foundation guy, and he said it was because the iguanas were undermining my the floor, and they dug in, and then when the rain came in, it drained out all the ground. It cost me $25,000 to fill that land in underneath the slab. My wife, she loves the garden. That's all she lives for. She goes out in the garden. She comes in hysterical because the iguana won't even leave her plants alone. They just stand there and look at her. You know, I'm going to eat your flowers and I'm going to do this. It's just crazy. And you know what? You went after MJ. MJ came to my house and he took care of one iguana. And I said, MJ, stand further back. You can get a better shot at him. He says, no, I'm going to shoot him right there so I can see him so the bullet doesn't go anyplace else. He didn't stand all the way back here. He was standing right next to the iguana. These people know what they're doing. Well, you got to stop these iguanas that they're going to take over the neighborhood. Pretty soon, you'll be getting a mortgage from them. It's crazy, really. They're all over my property. They're all over my property, 5, 6, 7 of them. It's crazy what you're doing.
Any other member of the audience? Any other comments from the commission? Does the Vice Mayor have something he wants to say? Okay, go ahead.
I agree with everybody in the room. Something's got to be done. But as written, I can't vote for it. If we can tighten it up, I can look at it. But as written right now, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can go out there with an air rifle and shoot away, and I can't vote for that. So if we can tighten it up and fix it, I'll be more than happy to look at it. But right now, I can't do it.
Vice Mayor has something?
He's available to vote.
I'm sorry.
He's on, yes.
Is there anything he wishes? We can call the vote. You can suggest a table if you feel that there's something that needs to be in here that isn't here now. I think we all agree there's a problem. My problem is the wholesale allowing of everybody. I'm not talking, and I've said it before, I'm not talking about people who are capable. I'm talking about everybody else who picks up a gun and decides they're going to go shoot an iguana and maybe misses and hits someone else. I'm concerned about it. You can't specifically say only one group of people. What you do for one, you do for all. Commissioner Zano.
Yeah, this is the first reading of this item, so if you have any considerations, just bring it up at the next meeting, but I haven't heard any really mentioned except by me and Commissioner Simone. But to say you're worried about shooting iguanas, you could be shooting anything, Arlene, in your backyard. Going back to everybody out here, the majority of the people were for it. These are nuisances. Florida Wildlife lets you handle it the way you want to handle it and remove them. I did not know that they're poisonous, so they can kill an animal. I didn't know that, so thank you for letting me know. And again, I am not one to kill animals, but I'm not going to tell people that if there's something on their property that can kill their pet, that you can't touch it. So I think the law, you got to be 16 years old to use an air rifle. So that takes care of that. So if your kid's out there with an air rifle, they shouldn't be if they're below 16. But I just think you should have some sort of protection on your property. You know, I understand some people aren't afraid of them, but there are people that are afraid of them. And it is what it is, and you're allowed to remove them. So I think we should pass this, and if you want to tweak it later. But I don't really know what's left to tweak except for the species. That's it.
Well, that's important.
Thank you.
Mr. Caggiano?
I almost agree with everything you said. Almost. The key, once again, is you specifically said on your property. And I agree with you 100% on that. But I'm not, but it is, if we pass this the way it is, there's no way that we can stop people under this to just go around and shooting.
Sir, it allows you only on the person's private property. It does not allow you to go on somebody else's private property without their permission to do so. It is not a wide open walk down the street.
But it doesn't say who can do it. It doesn't say who can. It doesn't say who can do it. It says that you can give anyone the permission who knocks on your door and says, "I want to kill iguanas," and you can go and go, yeah, and thumbs up and have them do it. I just want to know who's doing the shooting. And look, I have no problem with Commissioner Rosano going into his backyard with his air rifle on his property and killing an invasive species. I got no problem with that. I got a problem with anybody else on his property that decides they want to do it. And yes, I understand that he would be responsible of who he picks, but I think other people just want them gone and they'll pick anyone to do it. And that's what I worry about. If we can come with a permit where we can check out these people who are gonna do it, I'll look at it. I just can't have it where every Tom, Dick, and Harry who goes and knocks on the door and says, hey, can I kill iguanas in your backyard? I got a problem with that.
Commissioner Simone.
What difference does that make? If it's on his property?
It makes a difference to me.
If it's on his property and he gives somebody permission to be on his property, what difference does it make to you who he chooses to kill the iguana?
Does it make a difference? Oh, with that,
I'm going to ask you to withhold the applause, please.
well, it matters by code if your grass is over 6 inches long. And what is it? It may not bother me, but it may bother a whole bunch of other people. But we have a code that you have to cut your grass. Well, I just think we should have a code where you need a permit, that you need a permit before we allow you to just go shoot. That's all I'm asking for, is a little responsibility. Not that any Tom, Dick, and Harry who knocks on the door and says they want to kill the iguanas in your backyard can do it. If we could have a permit situation where we know responsible people are doing it, I will look at it. But at this point right now, other than the person who's the owner doing it, anybody else can do it. I have no problem with the owner doing it.
What if the owner's not comfortable? What if the owner's not comfortable with using a firearm, which even though it's a pellet gun, is still considered a firearm? So the person knocking on the door offering to do it for them with their permission, I'm sure, would be a much better shot than someone that maybe has poor vision or is not comfortable using a weapon.
So I would hope that that's the case. All I'm asking is that we make sure that people who are going to be doing this are responsible and we know who they are. That's all. Is that a problem? Asking that, yeah, well, you'll be able to allow to do that on your property. We just want to know who's doing it. And we want to know that they're doing it right. And we want to know that they're getting rid of them right. And we want to, listen, I
don't think we can regulate hunting, though. It's,
well,
you know, as
I got you, and that's why I can't vote yes for it.
No, he said he didn't believe you could regulate the hunting law, is what he said.
like as far as requiring a permit and stuff like that. I think other jurisdictions have the control on that.
I think with who we have up here, we're going to pass it, so we might as well just call for a vote and just go for it.
Any other further comments by the commissioner or for the vice mayor? Because I can't see it. All right, and please call the vote.
Commissioner Rosado?
Are we voting
Just for the record, it's as for the ordinance as drafted.
As drafted.
As drafted.
You can always change it second.
In theory, you can, depending on what the change is. But it would have
Without
to come
having
back.
it to be
If we have to
retitled.
come back and re-advertise for another second reading.
Then why wouldn't you table it and change it and do it right the first time rather than play games and wait for the second?
It's not playing games.
Well, I mean, but if you want to change something, why not do it?
I think Commissioner Simone made it clear that she would want to put in food for hogs and rodents, and I would do the same thing. And I think Commissioner Arcero said, the Vice Mayor said the same.
I was saying that it should state invasive species identified by the state or Fish and Wildlife, and or nuisance animals.
Yeah, but you see, that's opened up to a raccoon is a nuisance animal. I didn't like it crawling up into my roof, but I don't think I have the right to shoot it.
Okay, then pest, common pests, rats, roaches, snakes, things that you can normally kill and not have to worry about some weird city ordinance.
Well, and I just have from a legal perspective the difficulty if the event a special magistrate or judge would have to interpret what is a pest.
Right.
And I while I
okay, so all right, so invasive
was,
species and mice, rats, snakes, frogs. I think that's good enough. I think that covers.
If there's a list that we can provide to you as part of your deliberations that's provided by the Florida Wildlife Commission, we can do that so that you'd understand what they have listed as invasive.
Couldn't we do, if this passes by ordinance, a resolution that if we wanted to add or remove animals quickly, we could just refer to the resolution?
I don't understand what you said.
The Vice Mayor asked if we could amend this ordinance by resolution, and my answer would be no, the ordinance can only be amended by.
No, I didn't say to amend the ordinance. I'm saying in the ordinance, say a list of animals. Does the list of animals need to be listed in the ordinance, or would you list that in a separate resolution that supports the ordinance?
I don't think we'd be able to do that because you'd be in essence amending the ordinance by resolution.
Okay. So invasive species and list the animals mentioned: rats, rats, rodents, you know, all rodents, frogs, snakes. That's about it.
So there's two parts to this ordinance that I think are key to bring this discussion home. And one is the current code prohibits the killing of any animals, and we want to address that to provide exceptions for invasive species, including iguanas, anything else listed by FWC, as well as the common household type of pest. The second part is the exception for using projectiles or missiles, BB guns, to kill iguanas. We are not looking to provide that section to kill the common household pest. So that section will be specific to just killing and eradicating iguanas. So you're not going to have people out there going after shooting rats or shooting raccoons, whatever that may be.
Yeah, but Kale, we can't regulate the use of firearms. It's just a matter of being humanely killed. It doesn't have to be a BB gun. It could be, you know, a bow and arrow or other methods that are considered humane. We can't really get into specifying regulating firearms. Only the state of Florida can, and when they're used.
No, I'm just saying that is in respect to the ordinance, the way it's written, the argument was brought up, well, you can't kill a mouse or a rat.
Right, I gotcha.
And that's all. I just want to make sure there's two separate distinctions there. You know, we are going to open up a exception for the lawful euthanization of invasive species and common household pests.
Correct.
We are going to provide an exception in the code for launching or shooting projectiles or missiles, so long as it doesn't leave your private property, and that the prohibition on discharging air guns does not apply to the eradication of iguanas. But we're not going to list all of the other animals or
that's fine.
under that.
I just want to make sure that the city attorney double checks the ordinance so that it complies with any state regulations in relation to firearms, and none of us get removed from office because of our party affiliation. So, because if we do violate, and I don't know the state statute, but if we do violate it, it's a $5,000 personal fine, and we could be removed from office.
So, yes, so we're not going down the road with respect to the regulation of firearms.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
For the moment, that is of not concern. What the
Okay.
ordinance provides for is an exception under your cruelty and injury to animals section of your code, which currently makes it unlawful to kill, torture, beat, or kill any animal. So now an exception is provided herein. The only exception that's currently being provided for in this draft on first reading is the ability to kill non-native invasive iguana species in accordance with the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission's and American Veterinary Association's guidelines. That's currently.
But I don't like putting in just specifically iguanas because snakeheads are fish. There's other fish, right?
And that's what I'm trying to
Okay.
get at is if you want to provide a specific list, then we need to provide you with that list of animals that you want. And, you know, we can either do that tonight. If we do it on second reading, my concern is that that list will become a substantive change, which would require a second advertisement and a second reading. So the other option is to table this on first reading with the direction to include the additional list and bring it back for a second first reading with those changes.
I'm going to make a motion to table on the hope that I don't have a problem with the killing of any of the invasive species I have a problem with who. So I have no problem with tabling it. While you guys are working on the lists of what we can kill, I want to work on the part of who and how. So I make that motion for a table.
I'll second that.
And so this is a table till your next meeting?
How long
how
will
long-
it take
how
you
long
to
would
do
you-
what you need to do?
Your next meeting is on.
How about we table it till July? Well, it's already May. It's already May. We're not.
All right, so wait.
Your next meeting is May
Don't be done.
21st.
It's not over.
Oh, wait a minute, did you press that before or after? I didn't see it. All right, in that case, since the commissioner wants to say something, I'll remove my second.
I was going to say something too, but
I didn't see it.
well, you tabled it.
Well, because nobody said anything for a
But
while.
we're not
so-
allowed to say anything when it's tabled.
I know, but if you had chosen to before, I'll remove it my second if you want to say something.
I do want to say something,
All right.
because you know what, David? Honestly,
Hang on a minute. You need me
we've
to remove
had
the
worse
table, right?
situations than this, that we've tabled stuff, and we come back and then redrafted a whole new thing. And I understand what's going on, but you know what? To give these people the satisfaction, just move it forward and then wait till it gets to the second.
But he said that's not a good
Does not make
idea.
sense. Doesn't make any sense.
He said that's not a good idea because it's.
I know he's not saying it's a good idea because that's not what the mayor wants.
No,
I'm
he
saying
said it's because, go ahead. I'm not
you
going to talk to you.
can't, you can't.
Can't
make-
what?
You can't make a substantive change to an
That's what he's
ordinance on
saying.
second reading.
David, we're only talking about the animals.
Well, that's his
that's a
idea of a
So-
substantive
So
change.
leave it right now, what we just said. We've said it 5 times.
That's fine.
Rodents, rats, iguanas, and whatever the last thing was. Insects. What's
That's
wrong
fine.
with that?
If that's, then tell me and I'll make that change, that's fine. But I didn't know if you have a specific list, we can add it here on first reading and that's fine. And we'll bring it back for second reading. But the use of the terms of pests or annoying animals is a little too vague to, if we had to take this to a court. for
Honestly, I
such
don't think we
action.
need to put that in. We don't need to put termites and stuff like
David,
that.
why can't we just put,
Can we just add
why can't we just put?
iguanas and bufo frogs and be done with
No,
this?
no,
Because bufo
no,
frogs
it-
are a non-invasive
It-
species.
Non-native
Non-native.
invasive.
Mayor,
Not,
if I can say something?
right. But, in all due respect, I brought this up to the city manager at my agenda review. And the city manager told me that he would get back to me. And so this should have been solved before tonight. We should have had that list before tonight because he knew I was bringing up bufo frogs tonight.
I feel like I've given you a proper list that would cover that tonight.
If I may, Mayor,
Sure.
why can't we, as I said early on, just reference the Florida Fish and Wildlife invasive species list, plus rats or other rodents, however you want to word it, rodents, snakes, and frogs.
Squirrels are rodents too.
Hold on. I'm going to the Florida.
Or I mean, I'm a fan of passing it. The tabling thing, the whole July thing, I thought was a little ridiculous. I mean, if we table it to the very next meeting to get it right, because I want to make sure that people fishing that kill there's invasive fish that Florida Fish and Wildlife want you to kill, like snakeheads. There's other fish, I don't know the names of them, but I know that there are. There's boa constrictors, right? So I don't want to just limit it to iguanas. There's other invasive species as well.
I haven't heard anybody complain about a boa. In fact, quite frankly, I had a neighbor who had one as a pet. So I don't think we have, yeah.
Well, he wasn't
But you
killing
can
his
add
pet, though.
raccoons to that?
Well, why don't we just add the Florida list of invasive?
That's what I keep saying. Just add the
Yeah,
list
that's
of
what he's
identified
looking.
invasive
That's what he's
species
looking.
Just add the whole list,
plus rodents.
and then for the rest of us, me with insects and things like that, add that, which is not on but it's just on the nuisance list.
I can't imagine anyone calling and complaining because their neighbors stepped on a palmetto bug.
We do not need to add that
That's
into this
ridiculous.
ordinance. I am
That's
not going
beyond
to send animal
ridiculous.
control out to anybody's house for a complaint.
Correct. With these
Trust me, I don't kill them humanely.
So I can't find right now the exact rule from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission, but if you want to adopt this ordinance with that exception, providing for the ability to capture and humanely euthanize non-native invasive iguana species, bufo frogs, as well as any non-native invasive species identified by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission as amended from time to time, then let's include that language and pass that on first reading, and you'll be fine without having a
I like that.
second reading.
Fine with me.
My worry is still the who and the how. But I have no problem with what the wording is at that point. It's the who and the how.
Assuming
I'll
that
make
my
that
language is
motion.
acceptable, then the motion originally made by Commissioner Simone is made to include that additional language, correct?
Correct.
And Commissioner Rosano, you agreed to the second with that additional language?
Yes.
So now you have the new motion with the additional language included.
Vice Mayor have anything? Yep, okay. In that case, please call the roll.
Commissioner Rosano?
Yes.
Commissioner Caggiano?
This is on the total.
Correct.
This is on just what he said.
First reading. It'll come back for second reading.
We still haven't addressed the who and the how.
Right.
This is tough because I want all of them dead. It's not a question of do I want them dead or not dead. It's a question of how we do it and who does it. No.
Commissioner Simone?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Serio?
Yes.
Mayor Schwartz?
No. So it passes and we'll have it back on second reading. And with that in mind, meeting adjourned.